Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a quick update on EOS. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at EOS to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Bitfinex, guys. And clearly EOS broke above this wedge. We broke above 5.20. As I told you last time, it found support, right, or resistance, excuse me, right where we thought it would at about 5.60. Actually, it's about a little short of that at about 5.56. But even though it rejected off this pretty hard, it didn't break below, other than by just a wick, very briefly. Didn't break below this, what was resistance now is acting as support between 5.20 5.35. So it's for the most part has maintained most of the gains that it made, which is a very bullish indication in my opinion. Now we are entering kind of a consolidation period where price is getting squeezed tighter and tighter. We can see here, if I just draw a wick, or excuse me, if I draw a line from wick to wick, we can see we're getting a series of higher lows and also lower highs. So as it approaches the apex, the closer it gets to the apex, the more likely a breakout is to occur. Doesn't mean it has to break up, just means a breakout. Could be up or down. But as I said, in my opinion, this is looking rather, this is starting to look rather bullish. Now, if I put my Elliott hat on, which I don't like to do in lower volume markets, which this is an extreme low volume market right now, I was looking at this from a rather bearish point of view. I was looking at this as kind of an A, this for the B, and back down for the C. And if that was the case, guys, if we did break this prior low, which if this is the count, we probably, the C wave probability tells us C is going to break, would probably fall far enough to break this prior low, which would invalidate this as a primary wave 1 and this as a primary wave 2. We'd be looking at some type of a failed wave, an X wave, and then some type of ABC correction to start up another failed, or another to start the pattern all over again, if that is in fact the count. But I'm starting to look at this just based on how we had this double tap up here, almost a double top. However, it didn't break back down at all. It broke down a little bit, and then the bulls pushed it right back up, and it entered into this consolidation phase. So I'm starting to wonder if this is in fact more likely an A, B, down for the C. Either this type of account, and if that is the case, what are we looking at? We're more than likely looking at a subwave 1, 2, 3, something like this. 4. Now I realize this 4 would overlap the 1, but you can see it's only by a wick, which Elliott allows for that, and then we'd be up for the 5, subwave 5, something along those lines. I'm not saying that's where the 5 actually would probably be. I'd probably put the 5 somewhere around there for now. Again, I'm not saying that is the count, guys. I'm just saying it's starting to look like it's a real possibility. And this doesn't have to be the count either. I could count this as something like this, a long A, B, and C. Now again, I know the A typically has 5 waves in, B has 3, C has 5. If I dig in here, guys, could I get 5 waves out of the A and 5 waves out of the C and 3 out of the B if I dig into the 30-minute chart? Well, I can tell you that I can. I've done it, and yes, I can. Is it beautiful? No, it's not. But this market, again, with Elliott, it's almost, this is why I don't like to trade it in a very low volume market. In a high volume market, it works just beautifully, but in a low volume market, it's, you're almost forcing a count. But if I had to force a count, guys, I'm starting to wonder if this isn't a 1, 2, 3, possibly 4, and up for the 5. That's a real possibility. If price does break above this 6540, and I do think if we get an impulse up off this 5.35, if we get a nice influx of volume that pushes it above this 5.60, I think it's going to very quickly come into this 5.80 mark, 5.80 to 5.96, possibly testing this descending resistance line, guys. You remember this descending resistance line has been in place since mid-June, and it's been tested numerous times since mid-June. We're looking at the daily. If I went into the 4-hour, you'd see that it would be tested even more. So yeah, that's a very relevant zone. If price can break above that descending resistance line, break above this 4, this is going to act as a very strong resistance, guys, no doubt about it. If price does break up in here, I do expect it to bounce. Even if it does continue to the upside once it corrects, I do expect it to find some resistance here, certainly bounce back. That'd be a nice place to play a quick scalp trade to short it from somewhere around maybe 5.90, targeting about 5.60, 5.50. I think that'd be a good risk to reward if you're going to short the market, and from that point it may come right back up. But I'd have a very tight stop, because if it does break above this ascending resistance line, I do think there's a very high probability we're going to come up into at least minimum of this order block right here. between 6.40, 6.77, somewhere thereabouts. Possibly this order block up here between $7 and $7.30. And I do believe this order block up here between $7 and $7.30 is going to act as a very, very strong resistance. That is a very good supply zone. You can see it up here, guys. It broke down, wick, 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 and then just broke completely down. So there's a lot of sell orders that are sitting up here. So if and when price does make it up here, I do think it's going to act as a strong resistance. Wouldn't that be another place if you wanted to short the market to play a quick short? Doesn't mean that it's going to bounce and go back down into a bearish trend. Just means it'll find resistance here. More than likely, we'll have a little retrace before it continues to the upside, if it continues to the upside. So anyway, guys, just to give you kind of a heads up on what I'm looking at. To the downside, we've extended, as I said, guys, as I did with Bitcoin, we extended our ascending support line here off of our wedge. If price does break below that wedge, guys, that's kind of the cutoff for me. If it breaks below that wedge, probability tells me we're going to come down and test this bottom here. So more than likely retest this support, what has acted as a very strong support here since going all the way back to August 20th. And it just hasn't been able to break through on the daily by anything more than a wick. It has broken through by a wick, but quickly the bulls brought it right back up. So I do think it may come back down, test this zone again. And if and when that does happen, guys, if that does break down, we're looking at 450. If that breaks down, possibly coming back down as low as $4, 350, somewhere thereabouts. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying these are the very relevant support and resistance zone that we need to keep an eye on. But my opinion, as long as Bitcoin can hold, or if Bitcoin does break up, my opinion is EOS is going to break up. The only thing that can stop EOS, in my opinion, at this point, is if Bitcoin does break down. If Bitcoin continues sideways, I think EOS may consolidate a little further, may come closer to this apex, and then just take off. If we look at our RSI, looking at the daily, it's sitting here right around 50, so just a very neutral looking RSI, guys. Stock RSI is something very similar, and the daily MACD has actually just crossed over into bullish territory, so that is a bullish sign. Let's see if that can continue. Trending to the upside. One thing that I do like about EOS is anytime that it's crossed over into bullish territory, guys, it has massively on the daily, I should say, on the daily, the histogram has massively trended up, at least here in the recent past. I have to go back all the way to March to find a time when we've trended into bullish territory and then just kind of fell right back over. Most of the time since early March, every time it's come into bullish territory, it's just taken off at least enough to make a decent profit. Not necessarily at all-time highs, but certainly enough to make a decent profit. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on for now. We're looking at our moving averages. This is on the daily. We can see that price is above this 8-day EMA. It's trying to get above. It's finding resistance at the 21-day EMA. If price can break above this 21-day EMA, that is always a good sign of a momentum shift. If we come in here and we look at long positions, guys, long positions are remaining relatively stagnant, kind of moving sideways. In the last day, they've kind of started to tick up, but relative overall, they're pretty much stagnant. And if we look at shorts, we can see that shorts have dropped off dramatically over the last 24 hours or so, but still remain relatively stacked. So it's almost a standoff between long and shorts, which means the EOS market is pretty much operating as it should. If we look at, I shouldn't say that, it's definitely beholden to Bitcoin. But as far as longs and shorts are concerned, they're pretty relatively they're relatively stacked. They're pretty even, I should say. Looking at the daily, as I said, guys, we're trying to get above that 21-day EMA. Coming back to the 4-hour chart. Whoop, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, guys. Looking at the 4-hour chart, we can see that price is starting to, this again is giving us another reason to expect a possible larger move here in the very short term, or in the next 24 to 48 hours. We can see that EOS tried to break up here. We can see that the Bollinger Bands were bottlenecking, the 21-day and 8-day EMA were converging. I told you to expect a larger move. We got that. It moved up percentage-wise much higher than Bitcoin did, but Bitcoin just kind of, unfortunately, Bitcoin kind of topped it out there because Bitcoin found resistance. EOS just kind of stopped there and just kind of consolidated to move sideways. The good news is this gives it more of a chance to kind of build momentum. We can see now, even more than back then, we've got the 8, 21, and 55-day EMA all converging, literally almost on top of each other. The 200-day moving average is also converging, and we have bottlenecking. If I just let me pull up here, we got the Bollinger Bands just bottlenecking at a very, very high degree. So this, I would be very surprised if we don't see EOS break in one direction or another, very, very in a much larger move in the next 24 to 48 hours. It just looks that way, guys. The only thing that's going to, and I think the only thing that will prevent it from breaking up is if Bitcoin coin does break down. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote, resteam, or a like, depending on where you're viewing this. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Working. Signing out.